has been. And most patients, actually most people infected with COVID, they recover on their own. But because there is a lot of misinformation or which is creating panic, it is essential, and the credit goes to the KVS and GP Rao to have organized this program, that our faculty, the speakers were able to clarify everything. Most of the people are mild asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic. They need not go for medical attention. They should not rush to the hospital. And because that was not clear, everybody had symptoms, a cold, fever for a couple of days. The panic, and they wanted the reporting was that you need oxygen. So there was unnecessary admissions, unnecessary scare for oxygen. And at least now that it is settling down, a little more relaxed. But our faculty, our speakers are going to talk about the situation there and how to treat them. May I request
unmute yourself, Dr. Chaudhary ji. Please unmute yourself.
I want to ask Dr. Saroj Prusti to give us information about how the COVID presents and what are the degrees, grades, and when you should reach a hospital or seek medical attention. Dr. Saroj, please.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. So first of all, I want to thank the Kalinga Vaishya Samaj New Delhi for giving me the opportunity to discuss it's very important topic here. And another thing is for giving me introducing me for a nice introduction. So I thank Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, and Mr. GP Rao, and all the doctors here and faculties, and I want to thank you all. So regarding the topic here, the COVID, usually I think last 1.5 years, it is not a new problem for anyone here in the world because of pandemic situation. So what will some important points, it's a very large topic and so many doubts will be there among the public. So whatever the related to the public, lay person related something, some important points we'll discuss here, so that we will not waste time much here. So basically the present, you all are aware that the COVID-19 usually the transmission via the respiratory tract. So via the nose or via a respiratory system or by eyes or by contact or by mouth. So once virus enters to the respiratory system, they will present with like a fever, cough, or sometimes loss of smell sensation, loss of taste sensation, or a loss of breathing difficulty if the lungs are damaged more, present with breathing difficulty, or a chest pain and body pain, myalgia. So this type of present, and sometimes they may present with GI tract infection causing a diarrhea. So this type of various presentation depending on the organ involved. So different presentations will be there. And in this pandemic situation, and when there is a history of contact, first when we suspect it is a COVID, usually you go for a testing. But before going for a lab test, we need to know how you need to identify and what are the different category of patients. So different category by severity. Usually either mild symptoms, they are divided as mild symptoms or moderate symptoms or a severe COVID, or we call it as a critical COVID. So basically the mild symptoms, they will have only fever and body pain and myalgia. They will not have a breathing difficulty. They will not have a chest pain. They will not have a major complaints except fever and body pain, or some loss of taste and smell sensation, or sometimes loose motion. But moderate symptoms,
Excuse me,
those who are
Dr.
in the
Saroj.
moderate, yeah.
Sorry, please to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Is there any test that a person who suspects that he may have a COVID to do, like the 6-minute walk testing?
Yeah, actually 6-minute walk test is not necessary for a COVID test for because it is not a confirmatory test. If somebody having a breathing difficulty, we need to look at the oxygen saturation. So no need to go for a 6-minute walk test, because if we know that if there is some underlying condition, comorbid conditions are there, then it is a problem for the patient. For example, patient is having a coronary artery disease, heart disease, or a patient is having a hypertension, or a patient is having a diabetes, or a patient is having a chronic kidney disease. If this type of chronic diseases are there in the body, then if you do a 6-minute walk test and patient is having a breathing difficulty, so it may be difficult for the patient and the condition may worsen. So in that situation, better to monitor a oxygen saturation level rather than a 6-minute walk test.
The test also you test this oxygen saturation while walking. That's the recommended test by the authorities here.
Yeah. So
those who, as you said correctly, those people with not contract, those who are 70s or you got comorbidities or pregnant women, they don't do this test. But without symptoms, if it becomes symptomatic after 6 minutes walking, little discomfort or the saturation comes down, then they should have a attention rather than rushing unnecessarily.
Correct. So if there are no comorbid conditions, then we can go for a 6-minute walk test. No problem for that. Another thing is the moderate symptoms, usually they will have a similar type of symptoms, but they will have a breathing difficulty. So breathing difficulty in the form, so how will you know that if you monitor, there are two parameters being monitored. One is respiratory rate, another is oxygen saturation level. So we need to have a pulse oximeter for oxygen saturation level to see, and respiratory rate, if it is equal to or more than 24 respiratory rate, we can calculate the respiratory rate, or a oxygen saturation level, if it is at room air less than 93, it is 90 to 93 at room air saturation. So then we call it as a moderate category of COVID. Severe category, the same respiratory rate when it is more than 30 or a saturation less than 90% at room air. So if this type of, because this needs, if we identify, unless we identify, we cannot manage the case. We cannot, because we have to take a decision for hospital admission and which category of hospital admission is required. That needs to, whether patient needs a ward, whether patient needs ICU admission, whether needs oxygen therapy or not oxygen therapy, or patient needs home isolation. So these things has to be decided depending on the severity. So before going for that, we, for a confirmation in the, when patient reaches at home and before reaching to hospital, any other test which is required for the patient for confirmation of diagnosis. So whatever you do from the symptoms, or do a CT scan or do something, whatever, these are all probability of the COVID. But unless you do a PCR test as recommended, RT-PCR test, it is not confirmatory. So there are two types of tests available, that is either RT-PCR or a rapid antigen test. But the rapid antigen test is not reliable all the time, because even though it is more specific, but it is not reliable all the time because it is only test for specific protein of the virus. Whereas RT-PCR tests for some viral RNA, so which confirms the diagnosis. So for that reason, it is recommended to go for RT-PCR. Once RT-PCR is positive, it is 100% confirmed that it is COVID-19 infection only. So, but whereas CT scan will help us to guide, means the severity. It will give us a probability. Sometimes what happens, person will have a symptoms, RT-PCR may be negative, because there are some variations where RT-PCR may be negative because of depending on the type of sample, how to collect the sample, the method of collection of the sample, transport of the media, and cold chain maintenance. All these things are also important for a sample to become positive. The factors are also important. For that, in that situation, CT scan will help us, because in the CT scan, if you do the typical, some findings are there in the CT scan which gives in favor of the COVID, but it is not recommended to go for a CT scan for all patients. So there are specific situations we should go for a CT scan because a lot of radiation exposure while doing a CT scan to the patient. So we don't recommend for all patients. So when there is a need for CT scan, particularly when doctor advises we need to go for a CT scan, we should go for a CT scan. So regarding after
Excuse me,
category.
Dr. Saroj.
Yeah, please tell
Sorry
me.
to interrupt you again.
Yeah, please tell me.
May I bring in? May I ask Dr. Vijay Rao if you can unmute?
Yeah.
Because he is an expert and he has got high qualification in radiology. Do you think you can advise on our SRCT when you can do it?
Okay, namaste everyone. Thank you for giving this opportunity and a platform to discuss an important topic.
Dr. Saroj, mute yourself. Dr. Saroj, mute yourself.
Yeah.
And as Dr. Saroj very to explain us the method of the how the disease transmits, I will just add on to say that we can just break down into summarizing so that it is easy for everyone to understand. The disease stages can be divided into 3 stages. One stage is asymptomatic, when the disease is mainly in the nose. Second stage is when it affects the upper respiratory tract, when patient complains of fever, myalgia, and cough. That is the stage where you usually know. And the third is the severe stage, when when the disease reaches the lungs, and it is the autoimmune reaction, the reaction between the virus and the human body, which causes a inflammatory process which damages the lungs, and as a result, it leads to the respiratory distress. So people may understand that unless they get breathless, they don't have disease. That's a very wrong conception, to be honest. So the getting breathlessness or difficulty in breathing is almost a stage when the disease has reached the lungs. And the virus itself doesn't cause the breathlessness or difficulty in breathing. It is the human body, the immune system which fights with it, causes a damage. It is very much similar like if a fight is happening between Israel and Gaza, the politicians or the big leaders are not affected. But as a result, there are side effects of collapse of buildings, which usually the lungs are like that, gets infected and are difficult to breathe. So as Dr. Saroj has already said, to diagnose, you need to have a test. What is the best test to do that? The fastest test is rapid antigen, but it is not very sensitive. It's not very reliable. The second test is the RT-PCR test, which is the most reliable test, but still the sensitivity is around 70%. That is 30% may not be diagnosed. And it's a time-consuming test, because what has happens is that you take the thing, you reverse transcriptase, which takes time. In India, I think it takes around 2 to 4 days. Whether the facilities in the bigger centers, maybe like in UK, we do it is the turnover is within 6 hours. But still, with regards to CT scan, it all depends upon the availability. If you are in a bigger center, they would go for a CT scan because it's you can see the changes, but it is associated with radiation. If you don't have a facility for a RT-PCR and you want to know what's going on, if the patient is deteriorating, they'll do a CT scan. I will say it's a very common question for the people to see the scoring of the CT scan. I will just try to explain in a very simple words. Our lungs, there are 2 lungs. The right side of the lungs has got 3 lobes. The left side of the lung has got 2 lobes. So altogether there are 5 lobes. And what has done is that the radiologist has divided into depending upon the severity of the changes in the lungs. So we grade it from 0 to 5, 0 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. So what we do is looking at the CT scan, we grade the numbers. So 5 lobes into number of changes happens. So the maximum will be 25, the minimum will be 0. And so depending upon that, it tells about the severity of the changes within the scan. How much is the damage happened to the lungs. But what happens, sometimes people may go for a CT scan very early on the stage. As I said, when the disease is not reached the lungs, you may not see the changes within the lungs. So the severity may change from the early stage of the disease to the next stage of the disease. So yeah, so that's the role of the CT scan. But definitely CT scan can help looking for complications. One of the main complications associated with this disease is for formation of clots. So what happens because of the autoimmune reaction which takes in the body, there are formation of the clots within the chest, which is known as the pulmonary artery, which may block the blood supply to the lungs. There may be clots within the vessels in the intestine, or the clots within the brain itself. So these are the reasons when you will go for a CT scan, patient is deteriorating, the doctor may say, go for a scan. Then.
Thank you, Dr. Vijay Rao. I will come back to you. Can I ask Dr. Manisha, can you unmute yourself? Yeah. When should a patient get worried? Just like Dr. Saroj explained that these are the symptoms. When the patient should get worried that he should be at home or he should go to the hospital?
I thank the Karim Vaishya Samaj for giving me an opportunity to talk in this platform. And coming to the question.
Dr. Manisha, just wait. I'll request all. I request everybody to mute. There's a lot of music coming. Please kindly mute. Now you unmute yourself, Manisha.
People should have an idea about when they should get admitted to the hospital. It is likely that fever can last for 3 to 4 days. If any fever that lasts for more than 4 days, it is better to get hospitalization. And we advise every patient at home to check the oxygen level 4 times a day. And at any point of time, if the oxygen level is less than 95, it is better to get hospitalization. And periodically we will ask some inflammatory markers to test to get them done. If the patient is having symptoms but the markers are very, it is better for them to be in observation with the doctor.
Sorry, Dr. Manisha, your voice is not very clear. Can it improve?
Okay.
If possible, yeah, you remove the voice and come near the system. It will work.
Am I clear now?
Yeah, better.
Okay. I advise patients to get admitted if they have fever for more than 5 days, or if I ask the patients to check their oxygen level daily 4 times a day. If at any point of time the oxygen level is less than 95, it is better to observation of the doctor. And periodically we will ask patients to get few tests done. If the markers are little on the higher side, it is better for, like CRP, ferritin, urine, like that. If any of the reports are abnormal and even if the patient is having little milder symptoms, it is better for them to be in the observation. These are the 3 indications which.
Voice is not clear. Please do make the A4 stay at the state, madam. Please understand.
Monisha, stop your video. Madam, stop your video.
Am I clear now?
Not clear. Little difference.
Maybe you can switch off your laptop, come with your mobile.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I will.
He will come back to you. Dr. Chaudhary will come back to you. You can manage. Don't worry.
Can Dr. Saroj continue with his presentation?
Yeah. So basically, as Dr. Vijay told and Dr. C also told that regarding the symptoms, basically you look at the duration of the fever and how much severity and the breathing difficulty and chest discomfort and oxygen desaturation are some of the criteria for a lay person for a public person whether person needs home isolation or a hospital admission, and if in the hospital admission, whether to be admitted in the ward or in the ICU. So depending on the either patient is in the moderate, mild, moderate, severe or critical. So in the mild category, when the most important for us, for the public, when we want to think of a home isolation, it is important for us how to identify the symptoms and how to keep in contact with the physician, our treating physician, so that if there is a worsening of the symptoms are there, we need to immediately rush to the hospital for admission. We should not delay there. So how to identify them and what treatment and how to take care at home isolation for the mild symptoms. So what we need to look at. So particularly for the mild symptoms, the treatment is nothing, everything is symptomatic. Symptomatic means only fever is there. We need to give the paracetamol 650 mg, either 4 times to 6 times per day can be given. And if there is a cough, then we can give some cough syrup for suppression of the cough. Usually, and hydration is more important to maintain the hydration and take adequate rest so that person will not feel fatigue, and body pain also will come down. And the important here, we need to identify the category of high risk people here. So here, how we discussed, particularly diabetes patients, immunosuppressed patients. Immunosuppressed means those who are HIV patients, or those who are post-transplant patients, or those people who are on steroids, those people who are CKD, chronic kidney disease, or as cerebrovascular accident like stroke patients, or a heart patients, or a hypertension patients. This category of patients are age more than 60. So elderly people, this category of patients, even though they stay at home after taking consultation from a physician only, because if the worsening of symptoms has to be identified, the physician has to monitor by telemedicine from whether how the patient's condition, what is the pulse rate, because in an oxygen saturation, oxygen pulse oximeter, you can identify the pulse, you can identify the saturation, oxygen saturation level, and symptoms can be told by the patient. So the early identification is important. Another thing is in the home isolation, because first 5 to 7 days is very, very important here, because most of the treatment, whatever the recommended treatment and whatever the guideline treatment says, during the first period is important, and viremia as because the viremia phase stays there only. So early identification is of worsening symptoms is important for a hospitalization. So that's what I want to give a message. Second line.
Dr.
Second
Saroj,
is,
sorry,
yeah.
Sorry, I have to stop, interrupt you.
Yeah,
Proceed with
yeah,
the
yeah.
other aspect.
The questions to be more for the public. That
Yeah.
my question
Yeah.
is, you have admitted a patient in the ICU because he's sick,
Yeah.
and the attendants cannot go there.
Yeah.
You are in a PPE suit.
Yeah.
And how do you communicate with the attendants or relations? Because there is this deficiency of communication that people usually complain that
Yeah.
my patient is in ICU, I don't know what's happening. But
Yeah.
usually
Yeah.
in our hospital, for example, we communicate through the phone to the attendants once or twice a day. Because we
Yeah.
are so
Yeah.
busy that if you spend time in communicating, then also patient's time is suffering. So how do
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
manage communicating and conveying to the patients or attendants what is his status, what is his
Yeah.
likely prognosis, and how we're dealing?
Yeah. Yeah. So let me tell you.
And after this,
So yeah. No problem. So
I will ask
basically,
Dr. Manisha also.
yeah. So basically, the critically ill patients who are in ICU, we fix, because communication is very, very important. As a family member, we need to know the patient condition, what is the health condition, whether critically ill or whether patient is recovering or not, whether patient has come out from ventilator or likely to come out from the ventilator. Some decision has to be taken, and we have to convey the message to the family. So every day we fix our timing to the 1 hour or 1.5 hour time. We fix for all the patients at a time, means one by one we communicate with the family member with PPE suit with all, because family members are also usually, we consider them as a positive only, COVID positive only. So whoever comes, asymptomatic person, whoever attends the family member attends for the audiovisual counseling. So we do counseling them within that 1 hour. We finish the counseling for all the patients one by one. And then we make a audio visual because by video because the attenders are not allowed to go inside the ICU. So we make them a video system. So we let means they see by video, if patient is able to speak something, then they will talk to the patient, or if patient is not able to speak on ventilator, just they will look at the patient. So if some patient is able to identify the patient family, that they will be happy. So for that reason, we make daily communicate to the patient family member within that 1.5 hour and do the counseling.
Manisha is back.
Dr. Sangeeta, I would request you to
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you proceed and also take note of the fact that Dr. Manisha is back. Over to
Right.
Dr. Sangeeta. Dr.
Right. So we talked about the COVID disease.
1 minute. Pooja at home. I muted him. Don't worry, you proceed.
So thank you for this opportunity. Good evening to everybody. So we talked about COVID. We talked about the diagnosis. We talked about the various symptoms. Now, after this, we should know about the cure, about the treatment. So, so Dr. Proceed, do you want to please tell me the risk stratification that we have about the treatment? Because we know that 80% will have mild disease. It's very important that the person should be in touch with a treating doctor and not treat by themselves, by internet or WhatsApp. It is very important to treat by a doctor, be under a doctor's care, even by telemedicine right from the beginning. So can you talk about the COVID treatment that we have, Dr. Proceed?
Yeah. Thank you, madam. That's what already I have explained regarding the already I have explained regarding the category of patients: mild, moderate, severe, and critical category of patients. And regarding the mild category of patients, which is the most important for us as a public, most important for us because it's home isolation and early identification of the worsening of symptoms. So it is home isolation and treatment with supervision by a physician. So it is most important for the managing the mild cases particularly. Another thing is here for a treatment point of view, we can add here the ivermectin. So I have discussed regarding the general treatment. Then for a specific treatment, we can add ivermectin. So that is 12 mg per day. The dose no need to mention here, but we can add here ivermectin. But I want to highlight here one thing. In the first 7 days, if patient is asymptomatic, because we should not think of steroid. Steroid is an anti-inflammatory drug. We should not think of steroid in the first 7 days of the illness because that may worsen the symptoms and further worsen the COVID condition and severity in the further course of the disease. So coming from mild disease, then we'll come to the moderate disease. The moderate disease, usually we think of the similar way of means symptomatic treatment here, because here moderate disease means category of patients who are having breathing difficulty. Oxygen level at room air is coming to between 90 to 93%, and they will have a breathing difficulty. It means that they need either an ICU admission or a ward admission with a simple oxygen therapy. So the most important
please talk about oxygen, because in even in Delhi, what we had was a shortage of beds, and people were giving oxygen at home. So please talk about oxygen at home. And right now, since the beds are available, it is better to give in the hospital.
The oxygen support is important. There are two things I'll tell you. The oxygen saturation 93 at the worsening of the symptoms is a bad sign. Oxygen saturation at recovery point is not a bad sign. So my recommendation means my thought process is the oxygen support should not be given or should not be arranged at home at the time of worsening of the symptoms. Patient should be hospitalized only when patient is recovering, the lung condition is recovering. If patient needs oxygen, a small amount of oxygen, that point of time oxygen can be arranged at home and patient can be shifted to home by arranging oxygen by oxygen concentrator or a oxygen cylinder. So at the time of discharge, but when patient is a worsening symptoms, that time patient should not be managed at home because oxygen requirement will worsen, patient condition will worsen, patient will be unidentified, and patient may life risk will be there. And during this moderate condition, one is oxygen. Yes,
Sorry
please
to
tell me.
interrupt you.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. Actually,
Yeah.
people are confused. They were rushing for buying ivermectin and remdesivir and toxicum. Can you just give an actually the message
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
when and where it should be used and why it should not be used at home or something?
Yeah, sir. So actually, till now
People get actually so much.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, sir, basically, remdesivir is a antiviral treatment, antiviral drug, but it is till now not recommended as a first-line therapy for the COVID-19 disease. Still, it is considered as an investigational therapy because it does not reduce the mortality as per different studies, international studies and Indian studies also. It is they are still does not reduce the mortality, so it is still considered as an investigational therapy, and they are recommending the remdesivir is still recommending for a moderate to severe disease. It means that those people who require oxygen support, those people who requires a hospital ICU admission or a hospital admission in a ward with oxygen support, they should be considered for remdesivir. Remdesivir should not be given at home. Remdesivir should not be given to mild cases. So we should not be, as a lay person, as a public person, we should not be worried about the remdesivir, keeping at home as a reserve for the people, because at the time of necessary we may need remdesivir. So that is not necessary at all, because hospital has to provide. If you need remdesivir, better to be hospitalized. Patient, that has to be decided by the doctor whether he needs the remdesivir or not, because till now it is considered as an investigational therapy only.
Very important message. This is everybody
Yes.
should know. It's very important because that was creating panic. I don't have this
Yeah.
medicine. How can I manage?
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And coming to steroids.
Just want to
Yes,
add
sir.
on to say that.
Yeah, please.
Yes.
I just wanted to add on to the Dr. Pushti's statement that remdesivir is still an investigational drug, which is also same in UK and most of the places. They are not given. The studies have shown that they don't increase the. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Dr. Vijay, you are muted.
Yeah.
Dr. Vijay, you are muted. You unmute yourself.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that it's the same this thing which has been that the remdesivir is an investigational drug and it is very rarely given, and studies have shown that they may increase the, so it should not be used at home.
Yes. Yes. So now, sir, coming to the steroid therapy, anti-inflammatory, because it is indicated as an anti-inflammatory drug, as Dr. Vijay told.
Dr. Saroj,
you're muted, Dr. Saroj.
Actually, we have a problem with V. Lakshman Rao. There is some home or puja is going on. Would request him to mute. You carry on, Dr. Saroj.
Yeah. So because as Dr. Vijay told, it is a thromboinflammatory condition. Thromboinflammatory means when inflammation increases due to virus, that at the same time patient is a high risk for thrombus or clot formation in the body. clot formation in the body. So there are two treatments which is very, very important here while managing moderate to severe cases of the COVID who are getting admitted to the hospital. One is blood thinning agent, blood thinner agent, or we call it as anticoagulant. And second is anti-inflammatory drug, that is steroid. So steroid anti-inflammatory drug should be given. The thing is, whatever the drugs, anyway, as a public layperson, you need not know the things, but only thing is we should be aware that when to be given. So these are the two, the category, these two drugs are very, very important. The steroids should be given to moderate to severe category, and that too after the first week, after 7 days of the illness. And if patient is requiring hospital admission, oxygen requirement, and patient condition is worsening, the persistent fever, high grade fever is there, then in that situation and persistent myalgia and the oxygen requirement is increasing, that point of time we should think of anti-inflammatory, that is steroid.
Okay.
And
we should proceed.
So,
yeah. Yeah.
Dr. Saroj,
So
can you tell us about the new 2 treatments that are available for COVID? 1 or 2 liners, please, about 2DG and the monoclonal antibodies.
Yeah. So regarding the 2DG, actually this is also a it is under phase 3 trial and trial of the drug. Actually, for it is basically the recommendation, what they are recommending this 2DG during the viremia phase only. Viremia phase means patient usually first from the symptom onset to the first 10th day. So usually the virus stays in the body in the first 10 days. So if you want to give 2DG in the first 10 days of the illness from the symptom onset is recommended. But whether how it is going to help to the patient. So after the study results comes out to the market, then only will come to know that how it is working regarding the 2DG. So we are not aware of the results of the 2DG. We have used for some patients, but it is too early to comment on 2DG now at present.
Yeah, too early
and
to
coming
this is monoclonal antibodies.
And related to monoclonal antibody.
Can you go to
Sir,
This is also not a full.
sorry, treatment. I think public may not be interested in the treatment.
Yeah, I think we should.
Can you go to? Can you ask Dr. Manisha to speak about probably the vaccination?
Yeah, Manisha, Dr. Manisha on vaccination. Please unmute yourself. Unmute. Yeah.
Clear now?
Yeah. More clear.
So what vaccines are there, Dr. Monisha? Can you tell?
Yeah. Currently, we have 3 vaccines available in India. Covaxin, that is developed by Bharat Biotech, and Covishield, which is the local name for the AstraZeneca vaccine. And recently, we have this Russian-made Sputnik vaccine available. So Covaxin, as everyone knows, 2 doses have to be given 4 weeks apart. Covishield, again 2 doses, which had to be given. Now it is recommended to be given at 12 weeks duration gap.
Can we do mixing of the vaccines? This is a common question asked.
Yeah, okay. Mixing actually is the idea of giving 2 different vaccines for the first and the second dose. As of now in India, we are not allowing mixing of vaccines because the efficacy that we have in the trials is based on the based on how the efficacy was when 2 doses of the same vaccine were given. However, in some countries, mixing is being followed. So maybe we will get evidence later.
So another question is there that if the person developed COVID, if the person is COVID positive,
yeah,
then what that person should do, when he should take the vaccine?
Yeah, okay. Actually, in this context, I want to clear one myth that people are turning COVID positive after the vaccination. Actually, it is not true because vaccination will not cause COVID positivity. It is probably that the patient contracted the illness when he went for the vaccination and all. And coming to the question, based on the current recommendations, it is recommended that the vaccine, either first dose or second dose, has to be taken 3 months after recovery from the infection. This is because the person can have the natural immunity within these 3 months, and which can protect him from infection. Yeah.
Can you also please tell us, because there are, we have one question in the chat box also about a pregnancy. When is the person allowed to take vaccination during pregnancy, lactation?
Yeah, okay. Even though we don't have enough good number of trials done for the vaccines in pregnancy, current recommendations say that vaccine can be given in pregnancy and lactation because these are killed vaccines. And it can be taken in any trimester, whether first, second, or any month it can be taken.
So just to be safe, probably avoiding in the first trimester, but second trimester onwards it's allowed. Though the Ministry of Health has not yet approved it, but the FOGSI and other institutions have approved it.
Yeah.
Lactation is very much, allowed. So can you tell us about, if any person has had a serious illness and wants to take the vaccine, can you tell us about that?
Okay. Currently, there are no contraindications for the vaccine, but in certain situations, we are asking to defer the vaccine. Like if the patient is admitted for any other, if for any other critical illness in the hospital, probably it's better to take the vaccine after 4 weeks from the recovery, because it can affect the patient to develop the immune response. So probably it's better to take the vaccine after 4 weeks from once after the recovery.
One question was there in the chat box. What about blood donation after vaccination? When should the person be allowed to take?
Okay. Initially, they said 28 days for donating the blood after vaccination.
But
now they revised the
shortened it.
gap to 14 days.
14
They made
days.
you
Yes,
can donate
yes.
the blood after 14 days.
Yes.
Can I ask
Dr.
you,
Dr.
quickly,
Vijay has
plasma
raised
therapy? What is
hand.
the role of plasma therapy in?
Huh?
What is the role of plasma therapy in
Okay.
COVID?
Last year, plasma therapy used to be the backbone of treatment, almost in the first few recommendations. But this year, the impression has changed, probably because of the results that have come with the PLACID trial. But maybe if a right donor is taken and at the right time, we infuse the patient, probably there we will see good results. A donor should be selected with a good antibodies, good number of neutralizing antibodies, and plasma should be given within the first 10 days maximum, not after 10 days. After 10 days, it will not be of use anymore.
Dr. Vijay, you have raised your hand. You want to say something? Your hand is raised.
Yeah, just I wanted to add on the pregnancy and the vaccination. Recently had a chance to look at the Royal College of Obstetrician and Gynecologist guidelines, and they say that means, as Dr. Subudhi has already said, that there is no studies and only pregnancies, because we don't do the trials on pregnant women. The only studies which we have is got from the United States of America, where they have 100,000 pregnant women, and they have all been safe. There is no side effects being identified. Children born didn't have COVID.
I think
the host has muted you. You can unmute yourself, the speakers.
Yeah, just I think I have expressed my views. What were the other thing was the plasma therapy. Plasma therapy, as Dr. Manisha has already said, it was very rampantly used previously, but the studies have shown that it's not very beneficial. And even if it's plasma therapy is given, it should be given in first 2 weeks of the recovery.
can we go to rehabilitation, Dr. Can you discuss about the rehabilitation after the patient is cured? And it takes long time for the patient to recover. Dr. Sangeeta, can you initiate the discussion on rehabilitation of people?
The after effects.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Please unmute
Yes,
yourself, Dr.
yes.
Sangeeta. Yeah.
Dr. Prusti, can you tell us
Yeah.
now that, patients who have recovered from COVID, right? What
Yeah.
would they expect? I would want to have two categories. One is those people who have recovered from mild illness. One, what do you expect? Number two is after hospitalization, what do they expect?
Yeah. So usually the people who are having mild symptoms or to moderate symptoms and they are getting discharged, they will usually they recover. Basically, they will have some persistent fatigueness, generalized neuromuscular weakness, some psychological depression, and some anxiety kind of thing. This type of symptoms they may persist for a 15 days to 1 month kind of thing, and usually they recover. But the important part is here, those people who needs ICU admission and require oxygen for a longer time, or those people who goes to ventilator and require oxygen for a longer duration of time, and lungs are extensively damaged, some percentage of people, they go to lung fibrosis. Fibrotic means hardening of the lung. So when hardening of the lung occurs, oxygen requirement stays for a longer duration of time. And those people needs a close monitoring, and they may require a hospital stay for a prolonged period. So there are a lot of complications related to that. When hospital stay is getting prolonged, secondary infections will be more, and they will have a neuromuscular weakness, generalized fatigability. This type of complaints will be more. Another important thing I want to highlight here is regarding the black fungus. So black fungus is otherwise known as mucormycosis. So this mucormycosis is a type of sequelae or complication, particularly diabetic patients. So we see here, because of COVID, in particularly those who are admitting to ICU, in a worsening condition, most of them are immunocompromised and they are diabetic. And because of that, they are prone for a fungal infections and usually they complain. How to identify them? Either they will have a headache, or they will have some discharge from the nose, or some swelling of the eye, redness of the eye, and some blackish discoloration of the nose, and a severe headache. Swelling will be there. So to identify that, we need to go some test for a CT scan and need to identify by doing a biopsy, and then confirm the diagnosis and needs a treatment for black fungus. So these are some of the sequelae you phase of managing a COVID cases of severe category.
Okay.
So
Dr. Monisha, can you talk about the long COVID syndrome briefly?
Okay. It has been observed that many patients, after whether it is mild or severe, after getting discharged from the after recovering from the COVID, tend to have some symptoms related to the COVID, like which can be non-serious, like fatigue, body pains, joint pains, or low-grade fever, like that. If with these symptoms that last for 4 to 12 weeks, it is called long COVID. If these symptoms last for more than 12 weeks, it is called post-COVID actually. It has been observed that some patients are having symptoms till 9 months also. So long COVID is also a part of the disease only, and there is nothing to worry about it. If it, rehabilitation, like avoiding sedentary lifestyle, just doing their daily activities, and taking little short walks will be helpful to them.
Okay. Dr. Saroj, you were talking about mucormycosis. Can you tell shortly, like in brief, this thing, how the lay person will, think that probably they have, and they can reach out to their primary physician right away?
Yeah. So basically, yes, madam. Yeah. So basically, mucormycosis, it is a fungal infection which occurs in it can affect any part of the body, but most commonly it affects the eyes, it affects the nose and sinuses of the body, means of the face. So we call it as a rhinoorbital sinusitis. Means and the patient present with headache, because there will be swelling of the eyes, and there will be black discharge or pus discharge from the nose, and redness of the eyes will be there, and severe headache will be there. Basically, if the lung is getting infected, so patient will have a cough symptom and oxygen symptoms will be there. So from that, we need to evaluate further and go for a testing, biopsy, of the from the affected part. Once you do a confirmation will be done, then treatment, and early when you have a strong suspicion, as early as possible, we need to start the treatment and we have to go for surgery. Yeah.
Dr. Chaudhary sir, up to you, sir. What next we should do?
Excuse me, can you take some questions from the chat?
I have got many questions. Some of the questions have already been answered. Is it okay? I read the question fast. You say it's already answered. Is it okay? Can we do like that?
Yes, you can, okay, but anybody can answer any of these.
Okay. No, some questions are already been answered, so you don't have to waste your time. After taking first dose of Covishield, what will the risk of COVID till second dose? Is there between two doses? Any risk there? First dose and second dose, there is a gap.
So first dose of vaccine only provides 30 to 40% of the immunity. So you still can get first dose. Even after the second dose, you can get. So it only, the vaccines only reduces the death rate or the hospitalization, but infection you still can get.
Okay. How to reduce oxygen support after coming home? Is there a remedy to reduce the oxygen support?
Actually,
yeah, please go ahead.
Actually, no, there is no remedy to reduce the oxygen support as it is. The good thing in COVID is that the scarring of the lungs that happens in COVID is reversible with time. It will slowly improve with time. Most of the patients will not require their oxygen support within 2 months like that. This is what we have observed. I think sir also.
Yeah, 100% true. Most of the patients that
I have a relation who is a young guy, diabetic, and he was in ICU with oxygen, but he decided to come home, but it is close to the hospital. So he continued to have oxygen. Then the oxygen, the flow rate was reduced, the FiO2 was reduced, then the duration of oxygen was reduced slowly over a period of time.
Okay.
So it took about almost a month at home to slowly reduce FiO2 and the flow and the duration.
Okay.
So it is possible. So the question to answer to that one is they can gradually.
Okay. Next question is on this vitamin D3. Next question is around vitamin D3. Is it true?
Yes, it is.
Yes, sir. Vitamin D is very useful, sir.
It's useful? Okay.
Yes, very useful. You must, it is given, it has a role in prevention. Vitamin D actually, it plays a role in the innate immunity. So having decent levels of vitamin D already makes the person able to, mount an immune response against the virus. So having normal levels, so that's why it has a role in prevention as well as in the treatment of COVID.
Okay. Somebody called up saying that a lot of hair fall has happened. Is there any medicine for that after COVID? Hair fall.
What?
Hair fall, falling of hair.
Hair fall is also a symptom in long COVID actually.
Yeah, hair fall is something which you will have because of the reduced immunity, which will the hair will generate. Any patient who has reduced immunity will have hair fall. So it will just regenerate as you regain your immunity.
Dr.
Any major illness, it can be caused, right?
Actually, there can be skin changes.
Okay.
Not necessarily hair fall. And as far as the vitamin D3 is concerned, a lot of these people who had infection, they had a low vitamin D3. So that is a reverse correlation. But vitamin D3 deficiency is related to so many things, even cardiac diseases usually also.
Next question is very interesting. Since most of Kalinga Vaisya people are in business, any preventive medication helps to avoid respiratory problems? They're asking because we're in business.
I think
this is where prevention plays a role. So the COVID appropriate behavior.
Yeah.
It is COVID appropriate behavior, and if anyone has to take any message home, that is COVID appropriate behavior for the future now. Everybody needs to follow that, and I'm sure everybody will, agree that mask, social distancing, this is part of COVID appropriate behavior.
100%.
Okay. The next
Can I
question-
join the discussion? Can I join the discussion?
No, sorry,
this
sir.
particular
Sorry.
issue?
No, sorry, sir. You can only ask a question through the chat box. Yeah. You please proceed. You can ask a question through the chat box. Sir, next question is for the children. Is there a threat that the COVID will affect the children in a big way?
Sir, I would like to answer this question as a pediatrician. So what the news is that we are going to have a third wave and children are going to be more affected. The logic behind this is basically because we are not able to immunize the children as of yet. And, hello, sorry. So
these things happen, you carry on.
So because of that, we are expecting that there will be a huge surge of pediatric related COVID in the third wave.
Our friends organizer, can you mute everybody once again? The speakers will unmute themselves. Please mute everybody.
Yeah. So we are expecting a huge surge of pediatric COVID in the third wave. The pediatric vaccinations may start by the year end or early next year. We are having reports by Bharat Biotech. They are doing studies in children above the age of 2. Now, because of this, because of the fact that they are very, very vulnerable population, and they have not been vaccinated. So, we are gearing up for that. This is the whole, scenario as of now. We don't know anything beyond this. We are just coping. We are improving our manpower structure. We are in a mode of readiness, you can say.
Okay.
I would just want to add on to that. Recently, in Western countries, they have started immunizing people more than 12 years. I understand that the schools have been closed and they've been isolating people. But in most of the Western countries, they have started their schools and they have been doing their normal education with the schools. The studies have shown that there is a risk of getting the disease. The risk of getting the disease is almost the same, but the risk of getting complications are less. So those are the things which are making children to go through this stage. But I agree with Dr. Subudhi saying that we can expect, because strains keep on changing, and so the only way would be vaccination.
Okay. This is a special request. One of our members, he has got a spinal cord injury at C5, C6 with quadriplegia. Does he need any special precautions? He has taken both the vaccinations, Covishield. It's a spinal cord injury.
I don't think
it doesn't need anything different from a normal person, because it's the only comorbidities are mainly the diabetes and hypertensive people who the recovery would be difficult. But if he has been vaccinated, he is almost the same. The possibility of getting infection would be similar to the possibility of me getting an infection.
Okay. There is one peculiar question. Yes,
sorry, go on.
There is a peculiar case. He has got diabetics. He has gone on through surgery. He's 56. He tested positive in rapid antigen test. Tested negative in RT-PCR. So what should he do? RT-PCR.
I think is positive. If it is rapid test is positive, which has got actually low sensitivity, then he must be positive only, because RT-PCR gives a lot of false negatives. If somebody is rapid antibody test positive, it is considered as a positive only.
Okay. There's a long question. Hi, doctors. Uncle discharged from hospital, 20 days. He needs oxygen support for 2 to 3 liters. Without oxygen support, oxygen level drops. He's very weak. How can oxygen saturation be improved? Some tips.
Actually, in addition to oxygen, then the people are after recovering from slowly recovering from COVID, they should have breathing exercises, prone ventilation, lying on your tummy, breathing free abdomen. You can breathe. That helps to recover faster. That is called prone ventilation. We do in the intensive care unit also, but when they go home, they're advised to do breathing exercises in the lying on the tummy.
This question is again coming. Here, Kalinga Vaisya members are more prone to COVID.
No, what
Manisha?
Sangeeta said correct.
Yeah, I would just add on to that. It is very much similar to having a similar question in Western countries. Studies have shown that Asians are more prone to COVID.
Okay.
So it is very much similar. Because of the underlying conditions of diabetes and hypertension. So it's the same study going on in UK and United States of America. Why the Black and the Asians are more prone for that. So I think it's a proven study, the proven case that we are more prone because of the profession which we do, and also because of the underlying condition, the food habits. The people who change their food habits will not suffer from that.
Okay. There is a question on black fungus. I think Saroj Prusti has covered that, no? Black fungus?
Yes.
He has covered. Is antibody test required after second dose of vaccination?
No, I don't think it's required.
No.
I don't think it's required.
Yeah, it is not required.
Okay. Okay. There is one question around blood donation. I think you have covered it, no? After you tested, you have covered that. Okay. See, we are going very fast. No? Can people who are using rheumatoid arthritis medication are okay to vaccination?
They are on steroids. They are sometimes they are on steroids.
Okay.
But you can have him. Can get vaccination.
You can take the vaccination.
Okay. Okay. So first dose Covaxin. After 2 weeks, he contracted COVID-19. After first dose, kindly let us when should she take the second dose?
After 3 months, sir. After 3 months of getting COVID, you should take your dose.
Under what situation COVID patient be kept under ECMO or ECMO, no? And how much life is involved?
So actually ECMO is let me tell you, ECMO is like extracorporeal circuit or to improve oxygenation. When a routine mechanical ventilator support is not working and oxygenation is not able to be maintained by the patient, then we consider for an ECMO. ECMO to improve the oxygenation, but it does not change the underlying lung disease. Lung condition has to improve by itself. And it is a supportive therapy. Suppose we are planning for a lung transplant, as a bridge therapy we consider for ECMO, or a patient is in the initial phase of the illness, like within 7 to 10 days of the hospitalization. So that point of time, if patient is not improving, even with the full support of ventilator support, we consider for ECMO.
Okay. Dr. Vijay, for you, Dr. Josh McNabb is asking, is there any change in India and UK in COVID management systems? You can make it short.
To be honest, this is a very novel disease. Everyone is learning from their own experiences. UK had an initial phase where they had very much similar cases as India, but now they have learned. But the only way would be vaccination, which would helpful. Healthcare systems differ from place to place. Means in India itself, the healthcare differs from one state to other. Westernized countries has an advantage because they are slightly richer, so the infrastructure is well developed. So you can expect little bit difference, but the same.
Okay.
So I don't think we need to be worried wherever we
there
are.
is one question from Berhampur. Very old people, they can't go out of the house. So how can they take vaccination? They can't move.
The drive is on that, the vaccinations are happening at, they're going doorstep and doing it.
Okay.
In Delhi and Gurgaon, many of the complexes, they're getting the doctor to go to the person's home and doing. So I'm sure in various parts of the country also, it must be happening.
And drive-in also, they can go drive-in.
And drive-in also.
Okay.
To add on to that, there are a lot of volunteers nowadays who are assisting and going to
they will organize an
giving
ambulance
the vaccination.
Okay. Any chance of someone getting COVID second time?
Yes, sir. There's a huge chance. It's already, I've also seen 2 patients already having last year, developing this year, it's happening. So you have to get vaccinated. That's the very important
Monisha,
statement.
somebody from Vizag, his wife after COVID is having swelling in the legs for the last 10 months. It's a continuous problem. You call it long COVID or something. Swelling. For the last 10 months, swelling is there in the leg.
10 months, we should look for other causes of swelling of feet also. Could be related to COVID or might not be related to COVID. We should see liver function, kidney, how it is, and heart functioning and all.
Acha, heart also.
There's a very important question here.
Yeah, you carry on. I did 50 questions, 50. Super fast. You carry on.
That, my daughter of 6 years old has not been vaccinated with optional flu vaccine. So is it better to get her vaccinated? I want to respond to this question because there's a lot of talk that the flu vaccine is preventive. So what actually the flu vaccine does is that it protects you against flu. So you won't get flu most likely, and it won't confuse you that you have developed COVID. So that is why the flu vaccination is important. I would like to clarify that.
Should I continue with my question?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
We are in Odisha planning to return to Delhi. Is Delhi safe? They're in Odisha. Should they come to Delhi? Dr. Chaudhary.
Yeah.
Now they can come.
Where in Odisha and where in Delhi?
I think this is very difficult to say. It's a personal choice.
Remote places in Odisha, the incidents are very low. And if you are going to Delhi peripheries, in this, not in the crowded places.
The answer is which place in Odisha, where in Delhi. Then we'll give the answer.
Sir, another thing I want to mention here.
From Berhampur to Delhi, sir. Dwarka.
Acha, Berhampur to Dwarka specific. Berhampur to Dwarka.
And the main question is with kids, actually, traveling with kids.
Okay.
So long you take precautions, it's okay. It's so long you take precautions, stay at home and take all the 3 measures that you have all been advised again and again, you will be okay. Another problem actually is that you don't know the behavior of the virus. There are so many new mutants come. So once you're settled with one type of virus, the new mutant comes and the behavior is different.
Okay.
That's why the change in the pattern. Earlier the kids didn't have, but this time there is more kids. We don't know what will happen if the 3rd wave comes.
Post-COVID, somebody having continuous cough.
Breathing exercises important. Breathing exercises and cough syrups, anti-cough syrup, and the one I said prone, lying on the tummy and breathing, deep breathing. They help. And also the soothing the throat with cough syrups. One can take long time to do.
Ganesh Prusti asked a very technical question. Differences amongst white, black, and pink mycosis. I think it's too technical, no? You want to answer.
Different to the fungal infections, catchy names to the public, that's all. White fungus is Candida, I think they are referring to, and black fungus is mucormycosis.
Okay.
I don't know what is this thing.
I think you leave it there.
Yellow one.
Okay, let us come to Zinc COVID. Lot of people are asking, Zinc COVID khana nahi khana? Zinc COVID.
So in the preventive medicines, basically for immunity, we take the multivitamins having, B complexes, zinc, they are part of the multivitamins. So yes, there was a role, but, nothing to be overdone. You can't take it for months on end.
Okay.
That doesn't make any sense.
Okay. Any specific recommendation for children's prevention, immunity? You want to give some advice?
For children, I would say that it's better to stay indoors. If, less than 2, you can't use masks also. So as the children may be able to go out as soon as the lockdown improves, then again the social distancing is very mandatory. So again, it's a very difficult situation of letting them go out to play.
Okay.
So you need to encourage, activities at home. I want the parents to become more imaginative with activities,
Okay. Okay, one astrology question to all of you. Lata is asking, when will COVID go away? Astrology.
And
God only
everyone
can.
is
God only
vaccinated.
can.
God only.
No.
No, I know. It's very difficult to say.
Going to the last question, if I answer you.
Last question, then I got one idea. I'll tell you. You take the last question.
No, the previous question.
Okay, carry on.
Previous question about kids. My grandchildren, they go to school in USA. They started going to school, and some states there, they make it. It's not compulsory to wear a mask. So they have got the precautions. They are not so crowded. So they started going to school.
Yes, they've lifted the rules in the US now.
Okay. Now I got a request to our panelists and the doctors. There are many doctors in the audience. If any of the doctor wants to give a statement, 30 seconds, anything that we have missed out and you know the answer, 30 seconds, any of the doctor, please unmute and speak. Doctors, only doctors in the audience. कोई भी डॉक्टर है, आप बात करना चाहते हैं, 30 seconds. Yeah, T. Kameswaro, are you a doctor?
No,
it's okay. I'm muting you. Any doctor wants to say something? Dr. B. Iswar Rao, Dr. G.V. Ramana. Anyone wants to say something on COVID?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I'm Dr. Ramana. May I talk?
Yes, please. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah, please tell us. Tell your point.
I have seen many of the patients after recovery from the COVID, they are complaining of profuse sweating after minor activities.
Fatigue.
Cause for that.
Okay, profuse sweating. Even after a
minor activities.
Activity also, little walk also they do their sweating.
Rest of the things are okay.
Thank you. Dr. Saroj, Dr. Manisha.
Yes, sir. Actually, they will have a neuromuscular weakness, basically, and because of weakness, they are getting easy fatigability will be there. So because of that, they are having sweating. So probably that point of time, patient might be having a tachycardia. Tachycardia means increased heart rate. Compensatory heart rate will be increased.
Okay.
So we need to evaluate for at least heart condition. Any heart problem is that we need to evaluate. Okay. We know the lung condition, but at least we have to rule out heart condition.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Iswar Rao, you want to put a point? Dr. Iswar Rao, I saw two doctors. Any other doctor here? Okay, it's fine. Sir, my doctor. Yes, sir. Carry on, sir.
One of my patient teenage, she developed anosmia. No smell, no taste, no other symptoms of COVID. Then I told the parents, most probably she is suffering from COVID, to make her home isolation. Then she was in home isolation for 14 days. In the meanwhile, the other people are okay, and I insisted to go for a test for the girl, but they couldn't because of restlessness and not in scheduled times. They were not. Okay. So how long I will keep her in home isolation?
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Home isolation?
Yeah. Manisha,
Yes,
Saroj?
Yeah.
For how long they should be for Dr. Chaudhary?
Yes, sir. So home isolation is recommended if patient is asymptomatic. From the day of symptom onset, it is recommended for 10 days. And 3 days patient should be afebrile. So that included in the 10 days, And after that, if patient is being discharged from the hospital, then another 7 days is home isolation. So total of 17 days is required. Yeah, that's as per the recommendation that is required.
Okay, that's fine.
One more question, please.
No, sir, we are through. No more questions.
Okay.
Sorry. Now I've asked the doctors before we have to close at 7:30, but I am taking your time. What is your final advice to our community people, families, friends, children, old people? One advice from each one of you, short advice. Go slow in English so that everybody will understand. Dr. Vijay Rao.
My advice.
Yeah, one
would be-
advice.
My advice would be, if you're mentally strong and believe in science, you will get through the COVID.
Mentally strong, believe in science. That means integrating science and spirituality. Very good. Dr. Saroj.
Yeah, it's
Mind lo correct COVID రాదు అనుకున్నాను.
Sorry, Jami, Divya, come. Dr. Saroj.
Yeah. So it is a message to all that we need to be rigid about all preventive aspects related to the COVID. This one that like your social distancing,
social
home
distancing,
and
mask,
hand hygiene, mask use.
hand
So these are strictly to be managed, means to be monitored by all the people, irrespective of the condition.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Dr. Monisha.
I want to impress everyone about the vaccination only. All the myths regarding vaccination should be sorted out, and vaccination is the only way to come over the pandemic. So everyone should get the vaccine done.
More people, quickly vaccination. Very good. Dr. Chaudhary.
The same thing, COVID, appropriate behavior, vaccination, good nutrition.
Okay. Vaccination, nutrition. Achha. Dr. Sangeeta.
Sir, as a pediatrician, what I'm saying is the newborns are not coming for the vaccination on the times that are needed. So I want all parents of newborns, of children, to at least do their vaccinations on regular time, and not, we are dealing with other diseases which are also equally bad. So please prevent against those diseases as well.
Okay.
What I want to ensure.
Our president, Srinivas Kotni, you didn't ask any question. You have got a prerogative. You can ask a question, make a comment, say something. You are the president.
I must first submit to all the doctors that it was an outstanding session.
Okay.
And there's a lot of knowledge we gathered.
Okay.
Definitely on different aspects, and different myths have been dispelled. So we are very, very thankful to all of you. My question is with regard to different types of medicine. Now, Dr. Vijay Rao said that we should believe in science and be very, very, what do you call?
Mental strength. He said science and mental strength.
Mental strength. Now, what is the role of other sciences like homeopathy and other medical sciences in COVID management or fighting COVID? We have been hearing about this Ayurvedic medicine from Krishnapatnam and all, and there have been so many videos going around the country, and also there have been news items. Even the Vice President of India interfered, and then what is, as people of science?
No, it's fine. Good question. Anandaya, let us take some Ananda from Anandaya. Anybody wants to respond?
Yeah. So there is no medicine in any system of medicine. You are all treating symptomatically.
Okay.
So the others can, just like you have to improve your immunity. There are so many ways of improving immunity, like yoga, your pranayam, all this is going to help and improve your immunity.
Okay.
And if any other thing which our whole system of Ayurveda has, it is most welcome, but there is no treatment in Ayurveda as far as I know.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Now I'll request our Vice President to propose a vote of thanks. Before that, if any one of you, if you think we have not answered your question, please write in the chat box, put your mobile number. I will go to each of these 5 doctors and get you an answer. Okay. Please put in the chat box, put your phone number we will try to answer your question because it by 90 minutes we
I
can't
am
do
Dr.
much.
Patro.
No, sir. No, sir. We are only saying please write down in the chat box. Okay. With that, I will request our Vice President, Mr. Dr. Ganesh Prusti, to propose a vote of thanks. Yeah, because we're already 4 minutes late. Dr. Ganesh Prusti.
Good evening. I am Dr. Ganesh Prusti, Vice President of Delhi NCR KVS. I am sure at this point of time, all of us are more educated in COVID care. There is no doubt. Whatever knowledge we had was from social media only, and those are not well verified.
Rahul and Karis message good to reply.
Sir, you carry on. This is Kalinga Vice, sir. Don't worry. You carry on.
It is my honor and privilege to present vote of thanks on behalf of Management Committee. Our sincere thanks goes to the honorable panelists, Dr. Vijay Rao, Dr. Saroj Prusti, and Dr. Manisha for explaining every aspect of COVID virus and the pandemic as well. All three of them are frontline leaders for reducing the COVID effect in the society and brought laurels to the community by serving lives of humanity, in general. In fact, our Delhi doctors, Dr. Chaudhary and Dr. Sangeeta, have helped the Delhites in general. However, here in this meeting, their presence as moderator for this event to this extent to extract more information from the panelists. They could get more information from the panelists. They have acted as the bridge between we people and the panelists. Now it is my duty to thank Dr. G.P. Rao of our executive committee. In fact, this arrangement is the brainchild of Dr. G.P. Rao only. It is fueled by Dr. Sri Kotni, the president of this society. His enthusiasm could culminate in arranging such a nice web gathering. Sri Ram Prasad, KGK Rao Patra, KGK Patra and Ashok Boyana are instrumental in arranging the meeting and arranging the panelists. In fact, I should mention the names of other members like Mrs. Kanya, Dr. Sanjukta Subuddhi, Mr. Satish, Mr. Srinivas Bharatam, Mr. Nagaraj. They are instrumental in pulling lot of crowds. They have acted behind the scene. Although you are not able to see them here, but they were behind the scene and they could materialize such a nice gathering. Lastly, I thank each and every participant for trusting us and attending the webinar. There is no doubt Corona has threatened the human race in general, but let us learn from our home itself, like our own community doctors, regarding the safety aspect. Finally, I thank our elder members who are constantly encouraging us. In fact, today I have not heard much questions from our elders of this KVS, but they are always active and they are encouraging all of us to do better things day by day. Now I request Dr. G.P. Rao and Sri Boyana to have feedback from respected respected participants before closing the meeting formally. However, our interaction can continue beyond this webinar also. Like we can contact all 5 of our panelists or doctors if some serious problems comes with we face in future.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Because I am very stickler for time. I'm stopping you also. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the event is formally over, but we'll keep the Zoom on. You want to interact with each other, most welcome. If the doctors wants to continue for a while, most welcome. Ashok Boyana and Bharatam Srinivas, please put your phone number in the chat box. If any of you want to be associated with Delhi, you want more information, please write to them. Ashok Boina and Baraton Srinivas, please put your phone numbers in the chat box. Others can note down. Any of you have got any question, please write down the chat box. We'll definitely answer. With that, the program is formally over, but we'll keep the Zoom on. If you want to interact, you please continue. We'll keep it. Thank you so much, Dr. Monisha, Dr. Saroj, Dr. Chaudhary, Dr. Vijay Rao, and Dr. Sangeeta. Now the Zoom is on. You can interact if you want.
Thank you to Delhi KVS for nicely organized this webinar. I am from Barampur, Odisha. I hope more and more sessions will be organized in the days to come, so that we can be enriched with this COVID knowledge. Thank you very much for nicely organization and making the time very perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Anyone else from outside Delhi wants to say something?
I am Dr. Patro from Barampur, Odisha. There is nothing discussion about immunity, how to increase immunity. Let it be discussed in the next webinar.
I am sorry to say there was a lot of discussion on immunity. You have missed out. We will inform you. I'll send you the recording. Okay, sir. There was Okay. Anyone else want to say something? Dr. Krishna Mohan Komandar, you want to ask your second question?
Hello.
Dr. Krishna Mohan Komandar.
Only very. The girl who lost her smell and taste, when she will get the taste and smell, so that she can take food and she can enjoy the life.
It made.
Dr. Monisha.
Smell will return by itself. It may take time, variable time, up to 2 months or so. And we can make it olfactory training. Something is they are saying we can train the olfactory nerves by giving strong smells to inhale, so which can stimulate. And this is what ENT surgeons are saying about the olfactory. The loss of smell.
Okay, I will connect both Dr. Manisha and Dr. Komandar so that you can continue.
Thank you, Dr. Manisha.
Help somebody.
Dr. Manisha, thank you. Whether any corticosteroid spray of nasal sprays can help the olfactory sense?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from outside Delhi wants to say something? Outside Delhi?
Sir,
Hello.
this is again from Odisha. This is again from Odisha. Sir, my request, can we organize same kind of webinar on post-COVID management in the future? We may require. Can you plan it, sir?
Yeah, we'll do it, sir. We'll do it and we'll take your help. Yeah. Please leave your phone
Thank you,
number.
sir.
Please leave your phone
Okay,
number.
sir. Sir, one thing. Can you share your today's record program?
Yes, we'll send.
In what way we can get it, sir?
Yeah, we will send. Please write down your president's number, KVS president or secretary's number. We'll send it to him. Okay. Or you leave your email ID, we'll send it to you. You leave your phone number also, we'll send it.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes, anyone else?
Hello.
Yes, sir. Tell me.
Sir, my sister infected with COVID positive.
Okay.
She is 4 months pregnant on that time when she is infected with COVID positive. Now it's the 5th month. For what tests she has to go? Means blood tests or anything tests. Does it affect her any baby inside the baby inside baby?
Okay. Dr. Sangeeta.
I have faced a similar situation. So per se, antenatally, what happens is, same setbacks as any illness happens to the baby. So there might be some growth restriction in the baby. So your the mother needs to go for further testing. So there'll be ultrasound monitoring of the well-being of the fetus. So that the gynecologist will be checking. So that is important. You will need to be further going for more checkups than the usual. Right. Okay. Now, in terms of outcome, so far, since COVID is new, we can't be totally sure of the outcome. So beware, but so far we have seen that it's not that bad. Okay, I can say that.
Okay, ma'am, she's stomach pain she is having.
Unfortunately, the only appearance is autism. Autism in kids born to COVID from others.
Okay.
That cannot be detected prenatally.
You can't tell initially. But for the stomach ache, it can be any reason. It can be
Good evening, sir.
anything. So I would need you to check up with your physician or
हाँ,
the
नहीं, अभी भी
oncologist.
हमारे कुछ दूसरा प्रोग्राम चल रहा है. Okay, मैं कॉल करता हूँ. रोटरी हो गया, रोटरी. I'll call. Thank you, sir. Okay. Anyone else outside Delhi?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
This is Priyasha Pruste from Barampur.
Yes.
Sir, actually, my question is for Dr. Panelist.
No, it's only feedback. For panel discussion is over now. If you have any question, write in the chat box. Now
Sir,
we
I
are
have
taking
already
feedback.
written.
Yeah, question
I've
write in the
already
chat.
written.
You will get the answer. Now, any
Alright.
feedback you want to make, you want to organize, will help
So,
you.
sir, it would be great that if we'll have a webinar on post-COVID treatment
Yeah, post-COVID,
along
that's
the requirements of saturation, how to increase the saturation level.
Sure, we'll do that.
Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir.
Can I speak?
Yes, sir.
This is P. Satyanarayana from Rourkela Steel Plant. So just I wanted to know if at all any third wave will be there. We would like to have this type of discussion with all of you for to take better precautions.
Thank you, Satyanarayana Garu from Rourkela. Okay, anyone else from outside Delhi wants to give any feedback, make a comment?
Sir, just I want to share one thing. In Barampur, we started a post-COVID care center.
Very
so
good.
I want any suggestions, sir. Any suggestions?
You talk to Dr. KJ Chaudhary Garu separately. Huh? Okay, he's from Berampur, and Saroj is also from Berampur. You talk to them. Huh? Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? We will want to close the Zoom. Any comment from anyone outside Delhi?
Hello. We salute KVS Group of Delhi for organizing this seminar.
No, sir.
We salute really very great thing, very good job you are doing, sir. We salute.
Duty, sir. Anyone outside Delhi wants to give any feedback?
Hello. Can I
Okay.
speak?
Yeah, Dr. Ramana. Yes, Dr.
Hello.
Ramana. Yes, sir.
I'm Dr. G.V. Ramana. I want to know that whether it's a question to Dr. Monisha to avoid complication, whether everyone should be put on low dose of aspirin regularly.
Is low dose of aspirin is a preventive for everybody?
Is it you are asking after discharge or during the symptoms?
It's generally.
For mild cases, we are not advising anticoagulants. For all hospitalized patients, we are giving anticoagulants either orally or injectable.
Okay, I am asking again, anyone from outside Delhi wants to give any feedback, comment, most welcome, otherwise we'll close the session. Okay, so thank you doctors, thank you for your time, thank you Srinivas Garu. We will close the session. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
So we have recorded the session. We will share the recording with all of you. Okay. With the permission of the doctors. I'll take their permission separately. Jai Jagannath.
Jai Jagannath.
Vinay Rao gave a suggestion that we should record, but how do we know? Who has come? We don't know. They are not registered. So we will put it in the Facebook. We'll put it in the, if you're the president of the society, we can send. Individual members who don't know their numbers, they just come. We don't have their phone numbers or email IDs. If you can help, definitely share. We'll put it in Facebook. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you so much. All the best. Monisha, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
To quickly made the arrangement, come back. Really appreciate it. We got people from US, we have people from UK, lots of. Srinivas Garu, you're happy? Srinivas Kotni?
Yes, sir, I'm there.
Actually, Dr. Ramana is my elder brother.
Oh.
He's retired as CMO from Coal India.
Oh,
Srinivas Kotni is the president here.
Where is he staying, sir?
Raigada. He worked with in a hospital in Srikakulam. Then finally he moved to that. Okay.
Specialization, sir?
He was in Coal India.
Achha, general physician.
Surgery, MS.
Hello.
Thank you, all of you,
Thank
for
you. Thank
connecting
you.
us.
Yeah. Okay.
But speaking only.
Thank you. Chaliye. Let's close it, Dr. Srinivas Garu.
Yeah, please.
Thank you.